Hello everybody and welcome to my first video. Um, Today we're going to be running through some of the um, last three trades I've taken, two of which were on gold and one was on NASDAQ or US 100, whatever you want to call it. So we'll start off with gold. I'll first give you kind of like a rundown of my strategy, if I can find them here. So basically, I learned from this guy. His name's AMA Trading. Um, I recently found out that it's a different concept called inductment, basically stating that the first tap is always liquidity, but there is some general criteria for that to be true. So what you want to do is you find a zone that has just been created. So a zone can be sort of from this breaker structure right here. This is an internal zone, but still, I was looking at it, I think, on the 15-minute. So yeah, this gets broken. We start breaking structure to the downside, and we get the first shallow tap in right here that doesn't even go past 31% on the Gann box, and we push lower. So for me, this is a valid setup because we're continuing the overall trend on the downtrend here, and I'm just waiting for confirmation. Basically, my confirmation would be first, I need to see this first tap as liquidity, and I need to see it get swept. So we'll drop down to the 5-minute right here. And this was a later session trade. I think this was like an Asian session trade I took. But price opened all the way up here, closed all the way down here, and I ended up I ended up entering on this candle like midway through this candle. I put my stop right above the demand zone, which was another entry criteria for me. So basically, when you drive the zone, you're looking for any sort of area of demand. So for me, it was this order block right here, this 5-minute order block. It looks even more clean on the 1-minute, if you can see it here. Oh, I got upgrade, but yeah. So basically, waited for price to come into my supply zone, which was right there, which was this exact order block. And then I want to see a 1-minute change in the state. So technically, if I go back down here, we can kind of see it. Change in the state should be down here. So that's kind of where I entered. And I think I entered a little early, but still worked out. And basically, so for the guy's strategy I learned from, he basically said to target just a 1-to-1 or target the most recent 15-minute low, which would be this one, right? Would it be that one, 15-minute? Because for this structure, yeah, it would be this low. So I kind of changed it a bit because I'd only be catching a 1-to-1.6, which is still good, but I've back tested this model with setting my TP at previous day high or previous day low, and I've got about a 70% win rate with that. So I've kind of been trying that out. But yeah, super A+ setup here for a 1-to-5, almost a 1-to-6 R. This was the first trade on my phase 2 of my funded account, so it was a pretty good first trade for me. I have been risking 0.5% just because I was a little worried. This is like my first time passing phase 1, so I'm kind of trying to be pretty conservative. But I think next week I'll probably start risking heavier as I only need maybe one trade. But yeah, super clean setup. First tap, liquidity, find an area of demand, which is here, this order block. Wait for a 1-minute change in the state, enter on the 1-minute, and put your stop above the demand zone, which is this order block. And then just target previous day low. Super perfect setup. Another one here, okay? This one was on the 5-minute. So we broke structure here on the 5-minute. We have a shallow tap back in. Actually, I think we can see this better on the 1-minute. Right here. So yeah, this is a very internal like structured type of trade. It was very quick. Yeah, protected high, break a structure. That's our zone. So in his strategy, it's kind of like you need 6 taps. So we need protected high, we need where the break structure occurred. So this is 2. This is the third tap, which is the break structure. Fourth tap is the liquidity. Fifth tap is the push out, and then sixth tap is when we sweep the liquidity. Not to get too confusing, but anyways, protected high where we break the structure here, and then we get a shallow tap into the zone and we push lower. Okay. One thing I kind of changed about his strategy is sometimes he would count the break of structure candle as the shallow tap, which I don't see that being as efficient. But yeah, even this technically was this tap here was liquidity and push lower, but I kind of chose this one because we made an actual more significant move. So yeah, once I saw that we had a shallow tap in and we pushed lower, I looked for areas demand and perfect. We had kind of like this mini order block, or I guess you could say this was an order block as well. That's something I'm still learning. Like, not everything obviously is an order block, just not every up down move, but this seemed like a pretty good area of demand because it caused a pretty big sell-off. So I just waited for price to come into that, and I entered off of this candle when we closed below this low. So it was like, yeah, like around here. So like a 1 to 2. This trade I could have gotten way more because this was, I'm pretty sure this was previous day low as well, right here. So I could have caught pretty much the same move and as well 1 to 8, but I got out around like here. But yeah, that's something I'm still learning. Kind of just like not just getting out just because of I'm getting profit, you know. Another reason I took this trade so internally, because maybe for anybody watching, maybe wondering why I was only focused on this tiny range, even on the 5 minute, it looks pretty tiny. It's because if we hop on the 1 hour, usually I don't go above the 1 hour right now for structure, but as you can see, if we're on the 1 hour, this is the break of structure. That is our shallow tap, which was my first push, and I caught that down. And then we swept liquidity and already started making our move down. I thought initially we were going to keep coming up higher, so because I was already looking, I was watching it as it was here, and I was waiting for it to go kind of deeper into this zone, which would be drawn like that from the highest point like there. I was kind of waiting for it to go into like the more 50% range to kind of tap into equilibrium of the range, but we didn't get that, so it's no big deal. But once I saw we kind of started making bearish momentum, this was pretty late in the evening, so I kind of just left it and went to bed, and then I woke up in the morning and I caught a pretty nice internal sell model, which would have been the biggest sell-off of that move. Yeah, so this was previous day low. I remember I could have caught a 1 to 1.6. This is something I'm still learning, so no big deal. What else? Oh yeah, and then I think that was it for gold this week. I was waiting for this, and then I just didn't see. I didn't like the structure. It just kept moving higher, so I should probably remove this. This was an earlier one in the week. I'll show you guys the buy model, 2 buy models, 2 sell models. Here. So we get, I think it was on the 15 minute, I looked at this. Boom. Okay. Again, break of structure. This is our protected low. But not every break of structure. So what the thing with this strategy is, if the shallow tap goes deeper than maybe 40% or even, yeah, if it mitigates too much of this zone, I won't count that as a shallow tap, and that's actually mitigated. It has to be at least nothing higher than maybe the 40% of this Gann box range. So anything like, let me see, what's something I can show. Trying to find a good thing of what I mean. Okay, I'm not good on this on the spot, but basically what I'm saying is this initial tap right here, which is my liquidity, cannot be like any lower or deeper than like the 40%, for me at least. It depends on the person, um, for whoever trades this type of strategy. Um, but yeah, no. Anytime the first tap is more than 50 or 40%, sorry, I consider the zone mitigated, meaning we might continue bearish structure, like actually turn bearish once price comes below that tap, because that's the whole thing with the strategy, right? People will see this and we'll see a candle close and be like, oh, we're starting, that's a break of structure to the downside, we're starting bearish momentum, and then they get stopped. And then, yeah, so that's the whole thing. But I'm rambling here. So, yeah, break of structure, tap back in, 30%, push higher. That's the most important part. A lot of people won't even wait for a push higher. It's probably one of the most important things. We need to push higher to kind of continue that bullish narrative, so that when the tap does go, or after that, it goes lower than the tap, people start to think it's bearish momentum and they get stopped out. So that's kind of the whole premise of the strategy. Yeah. 5 minute, we drop down. Where are we at? Break structure, tap back in. I think this was, there was some sort of news because this was a pretty early morning trade. And then we tapped back in. We broke, not break structure, but we came back into this perfect 5 minute order block. We hit the 50% of that, and I entered off of this candle right here. This 5 minute or 1 minute, whatever you want. I can drop down. Let me see where I entered. I might not be able to go that far actually. But yeah, you get the premise of it. I entered off of this closure right here. This candle right here. And then I just targeted the most recent highs. Could have targeted, I think these were previous day highs, but I think it's only, honestly, it's been a month since I started the strategy, and it's way better than the other one I had originally been using. But yeah, so let me finish off with what I caught early morning on Thursday. So yeah, initially I had drawn this range. I think this was on the 15 minute, if I can show you guys. I didn't really like this because I felt like I was rushing a trade here. I didn't like this big, I don't even know what to call this pump. I generally don't know what to call that. So it's a good thing I kind of didn't take this. Yes, it still would have hit take profit, even if I had set my take profit here. But as you can see, I missed out on this play earlier, like the day before, and then as you can see, the morning after, I caught this play just before the market dumped after Trump's tariff announcement with Canada. But yeah, this was a 5 minute play. We break structure here. Well, this candle, down candle up, meaning this is our low. That shallow taps back in, continues to push. Now, what I was going to say is I took this internal structure because, look, for anybody who trades this model, the first tap, as I've said, is always liquidity, and it pushes higher. So we broke structure here on the 15 minute, and I was waiting around. I caught it around here, so I was like, okay, if on the 15 minute, let me see this. If on the 15 minute, this down candle is our initial tap, and on the 5 minute, it's our sweep, meaning we're gonna get a push higher. We should get a push higher, because on the 5 minute, we're showing that setup, the entry model that I used, that the first tap is liquidity and the second tap is pushes higher and takes out or take profit, whatever. So yeah, I'd be like this. For anybody who trades this model, I saw this. I'm like, okay, we broke structure. My entry would be a perfect shallow tap in on a 15 minute play. and we should expect a higher move, which luckily it did. So I was like, okay, if we're showing bullish kind of confirmation on the 15-minute and on the 5-minute, we're showing my entry model, I'm probably going to take this. So I'm pretty glad I did because it was a really nice play. We tapped back in, this is technically the first tap on the 15-minute, but this was our second tap on the 5-minute if you were paying attention to this time frame. So I was like, okay, broke structure, tap. I waited for this order block to be hit on the 1 minute. I think it was 1 minute. Yeah, kind of this up down move. This one, I will say, I'm not particularly proud of my entry. It was it's still pretty great RR. I think I got out here. I got out a little early, but I did not wait for the 1 minute change in the state. So I entered, I think off this just initial tap up, I entered probably around like this candle. I got a little eager. Because news had just come out, and I thought it was gonna take off without me initially, but luckily it didn't, and it came back and it hit my area of entry. But yeah, so those are the 3 plays I took this week. All on my new phase 2 funded account. Or not funded account, but hopefully I can get funded. I'm $140 into profit, and I need 250, so I think I can get it done this week, hopefully. But yeah, hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you in the next one.